Welcome back to the Champ Demar Tournament Expert Division Weekend Round. Hole number 9. This is our send it shot on hole number 9 to give us a good look at the Albatross. We're playing this with either a Zerk, Globe, or Top Spin Boost Bryson Ball. Something along those lines. You can play this shot with APOC 5 plus. However, APOC 5 and APOC 6, if you want to roll out of the rough on the other side and have a good look at the Albatross, you will need to use boost. So with winds in the 10 mile an hour, with my APOC 8, I'm playing and a boost ball, a Bryson ball. I'm playing max top spin with 2 boost. That's for wins in the 10s. So if you have wins in the 9s, I would play it with 2.5 boost. Wins in the 11s, 1.5 boost. It really all depends on the bounce, but this shot has been pretty consistent. Been getting pretty good bounces. There are a couple of tweaks that can be made to increase the chances of getting the rollout. I'll kind of go over what I've noticed so far. But to start off with, we're going to set up at P5 max rest. We're going to have the bullseye splitting the rough fairway line, just like that. Max top spin, 2 left spin. We're adjusting P5 minus 20% at slider, or at max club. P5 minus 20 max. What we're going to do is push up after we adjust, but what we push up is going to be determined by what we pull down to when we adjust. What I mean by that is if we pull down to the plus 17 or higher, then we will push up 8 plus yards. If we pull down to the plus 16 or lower, then we will only push up 7 plus yards. That means you have more of a tailwind angle, higher wind, and if you're not careful, your first bounce can clip the rough at the end of the fairway. We want to try and keep that from happening. That's why we have 2 different push-ups depending on what you adjust down to. The curl, now there's 2 major wind angles I would say here on this. Really only one that you kind of need to pay attention to and change the amount of curl you use. And it's a hard crosswind angle. Like almost a straight crosswind. If you get that wind angle, then you'll need to reduce your curl a little bit from what we're doing here. So right now, I've got my center line splitting the triangle in half. That's the standard curl for this shot. It'll work in every wind angle. It even works in the crosswind angle. The problem is, if you have the hard crosswind angle and a high wind, then you'll be over curled. You're still going to clear the gap, but you're most likely not going to roll out of the rough on the other end because you'll just be too far to the left. So if you notice you got a hard crosswind angle, especially if you got higher winds in the 11s, then I would reduce this curl to either, I would go tip of the triangle if I had the hard crosswind angle and a high wind. I would have my center line touching the tip of the shot triangle right there. Of course, it depends. You might go here with, say, an 11.9 wind, and you might want to go here for, say, a 10.5 wind, right? You're going to have to play around with it. There is a fair amount of forgiveness into this, but if you want consistency on the rollout to give you better opportunities at the Albatross, practice this a few times. Pay attention to your pull angles, pay attention to the wind angles, wind strengths, and such, and make you some minor tweaks as needed to get you a better opportunity. With that being said, you can see here I've got a baby wind, 9.4. I'm not using any boost, just max topspin, 2 left spin, and I do manage to clear the gap, bounce over, and roll out into the fairway for a grizzly shot. So it is possible, just depends on the bounce you get with the lower wind. It's not necessarily wind strength here that will help you. It's more about setup and bounce, I believe, and the proper amount of curl. The drive has been great, safe both sides. In fact, I even hit one good left shot here. I still bounced on the fairway, still bounced over. Now I was in the rough on the other side, but it was safe for a safe, still was a safe eagle, right? Now, I'm not saying that you should go hitting good, and not every club is going to have the same accuracy that I have, but that's just to let you know that it has been tested. Minor grates, no problem. You can probably even get away with a double grate, both sides, and still clear the gap just fine. Our approach shot is obviously going to depend on how we roll out. So we got a couple of numbers for you here. If you get stuck in the rough, then the rough iron generally plays 10% elevation at around 85 to 90 slider. Always using 2 right spin, then adding top spin or back spin as needed to have the ball guide just barely going through the cup. You don't need to be, I know we got a headwind here, and I know it looks like you might want to have that ball guide going through the hole by a square or so. You don't need it. Just have the ball guide into the cup, at least to the center of the cup, maybe to the back of the cup at the longest, okay? Rough iron plus 10%, usually around 85 to 90 slider. The thorn shot plays P4 plus 40% elevation at slider if you're playing on the side of the hill. All right, so that's always 2 right spin. Then if you're on top of the hill, that's just before the green, then you'll typically need a little bit of top spin. You need to make sure that if you're playing a thorn shot here, that you set up at least at the +2, +3, no higher than, I would say, the +3. If you set up too high, then there's a good chance that you will pull into your long iron shot when you start adjusting your thorn. Happened to me. I set up at, I was around the bottom of the +6. I ended up pulling into my grizzly, and it caused me to miss the shot. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to play the thorn, then you want to set up at the highest, the +3. But to keep it safe, I would say +2 or lower. If you play it on the side of the hill, it plays P4 plus 40. If you get a longer rollout, say you use a lot of boost and you get a longer rollout, and you're able to play your first bounce on the green with your Thorn, then it's going to play P4 plus 35 at slider. If you're playing Grizzly, it plays P4 plus 30% at slider. Always same, no matter what club you're using. Just tip of the ball guide, no further than the back of the cup. Not even going through the cup. Make sure you're touching the front of the cup, but not through the back of the cup. Make sure you're always using at least one side spin to the right. Typically, most of our shots have been played with 2 side spin to the right. Take your time, pull straight, and you should have a really good opportunity at dropping an albatross on hole number 9 with Ascendant. Just another note, a wind 0 ball doesn't really help you a whole lot here. So it's more about the wind angle and where your first bounce lands on your drive. So pay attention to that. Don't worry too much if you get a low wind with a Zerk. It's more about the wind angle. The more tailwind you got, the more you're going to get pushed forward. The more speed you'll get out of it, the better roll you'll get. The more crosswind you have, the less it's going to push forward and the slower the rollout. So just practice a couple times. Pay attention to those little details, and they might just help you walk away with an albatross. Good luck, everyone. Hope you guys get the drop. Hope you all kill it. And just for the viewing pleasure, to let you guys know that the notes are pretty solid here for the front 9. This is what I shot on the front 9. And had I not pulled into my Grizzly on my Thorn approach on hole 9, I most likely would have had a minus 21 in front. So definitely some opportunities out there, everyone. I hope you all get all the drops and go snatch some gold medals. Good luck. Take care. And we'll see you next time.